I don't know if I've ever seen Congress get this explosive. Watch what happens when these congressmen and women attack RFK Jr. with everything they have, and he does not take it sitting down. He fights right back. You guys are not going to want to miss this.
Secretary Kennedy, I want to talk to you about your relationship with this committee and this Congress. I want to talk to you about the statements that you made to the chairman of this committee and to members of this committee during your confirmation hearing about vaccines. You didn't tell the truth. I find that to be really dangerous for our relationship. If I were the chairman who believes in vaccines and voted for you because he believed what you said about supporting vaccines, my head would be exploding. In the hearing, you told us, quote, "I will not work to impound, divert, or otherwise reduce any funding appropriated by Congress for the purpose of vaccination programs." That's not the truth. You've done exactly. Let me finish my question.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said. I'm just asking you to repeat it so I can understand your question.
During the hearing, I'll repeat it. During the hearing, you said to this committee and to the Finance Committee, "I will not work to impound, divert, or otherwise reduce funding appropriated by Congress for the purpose of vaccination programs." That is not what happened. You've done the opposite. You canceled $12 billion in grants to the states, including my state, that are used to administer and track vaccines. You promised Chairman Cassidy.
When did I do that?
Madam Chair, would you allow me to finish my question?
Keep going with your question.
When did I do that?
Let me finish my question.
Accusation. Just tell me when I did it so I can understand what the question is.
You have canceled $12 billion in public health grants to states, whether you know this or not. That funding is used by the states in part to be able to administer and dispense information about vaccines. Mr. Secretary, let me give you the full panoply of
accusations,
the things you said before this committee that didn't turn out to be true. You also promised Chairman Cassidy that the FDA would not change vaccine standards from, quote, historical norms. But what happened as soon as you were sworn in? You announced new standards for vaccine approvals that you proudly referred to in your own press release as a radical departure from current practice. And experts say that that departure will delay approvals. You also said, specific to the measles vaccine, that you support the measles vaccine. But you have consistently been undermining the measles vaccine. You told the public that the vaccine wanes very quickly. You went on the Dr. Phil show and said that the measles vaccine was never fully tested for safety. You said there's fetal debris in the measles vaccine. And this morning—
All true.
This morning in
Do
front of—
you want me to lie to the public?
That's not— none of that is—
Of course it's true. Of course it's true, Senator. You're Senator begging your product. You do not know what you're talking about.
For the record—
Let's have a little bit of order so that you can get your
Chair,
question and we can get
I didn't ask for a response yet.
I understand
I'd like to lay out the predicate of my question before I'm interrupted by the witness. He should have some respect for this committee.
Go ahead.
Just this morning in front of the House of Representatives, you also said that you, in fact, would not recommend that kids get vaccinated for measles. You said you would just lay out the pros and cons. Okay, so this is the summation of everything that you have said to compromise people's faith in the measles vaccine in particular is contrary to what you said before this committee. You said you support the measles vaccine, but then you have laid out a set of facts that are contested, and I will submit information for the record from experts who contest what you've said about the vaccine, and the result is to undermine faith in the vaccine. It's kind of like saying, listen, I think you should swim in that lake, but, you know, the lake is probably toxic, and there's probably a ton of snakes and alligators in that lake, but I think you should swim in it. Nobody's going to swim in that lake if that's what you say. And so I want you to acknowledge that when you say you support the measles vaccine and then go out and repeatedly undermine the vaccine with information that is contested by public health experts, that is not supporting the vaccine. And so I guess I have two simple questions for you. One is, can you clarify what you said in the House this morning? Are you or are you not recommending that families get their children vaccinated, or are you just giving people the pros and cons? And do you understand that when you say these things about the measles vaccine, what ends up happening is less people get the vaccine? That may be what you want, but do you understand that the result of constantly questioning the efficacy or safety of the vaccine results in less people getting the vaccine. So I don't necessarily want to spend the remaining 20 seconds in an argument over the science, but do you at least understand that that's the consequence of what you're saying? And are you actually still recommending people get the vaccine, or are you not?
Senator, if I advised you to swim in a lake that I knew there to be alligators in, wouldn't you want me to tell you there were alligators in it?
So are you recommending the measles vaccine or not?
What I've said and what I said...
It doesn't sound like you are, if that's...
Are you going to let me answer? Or are you going to keep interrupting?
Are you or are you not?
Are you going to let me answer? What I pledged before this committee during my confirmation is that I would tell the truth, that I would have radical transparency. I'm going to tell the truth about everything we know and we don't know about vaccines.
Are you recommending the measles vaccine or not?
I am not going to just tell people everything is safe and effective if I know that there's issues. I need to respect people's intelligence.
I think you're answering the question. I think you're
and
answering the question. That's really
people,
dangerous for the American public and for families.
The reason people have lost faith in this program is because they've been lied to by public officials for year after year after year.
No longer recommending the measles vaccine.
Senator Marshall.
I see absolutely nothing wrong with what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing. He's giving the American people all the information regarding the measles vaccine. And then here's something radical. They can make a determination for themselves. They don't just blindly believe what the government tells them. If you want to take the measles vaccine, go for it. If you don't, okay, you don't have to. That's what we want in a free society. We don't want the government to come down and say, if you don't take this vaccine, then you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose this, that, and the other. We've already experienced that. We all lived through 2021 and 2022, and we know the dangers of living in a society like that. RFK Jr. is a straight shooter. He's saying, listen, here are the benefits of taking the vaccine. However, here's also the downsides and the cons of taking this vaccine. And that every American can sit there and say, you know what? The benefits outweigh the cons, I will take it. Or the cons outweigh the benefits, I will not take it. I don't know about you, but that's what I want out of a governmental official. I don't want them telling me how to live my life. I just want them to give me all the information in a clear and transparent way. Just tell us the facts. We'll make our own determinations. And shame on that man for trying to make RFK Jr. look like a bad person for giving us all the information.
And thank you, Senator Sanders. I just want to begin by saying I know how determined President Trump is for us to have the lowest drug prices in the world, as between Europe and the United States. And I also know that he doesn't care how we get there. That's where he wants Americans to be. And he said, I don't know how many times since, I've been involved with him, but that we shouldn't be be able to go to London and buy GLP for $88 that in this country cost us $1,300. And I know it's something that you've been talking about for many years. I look forward to working with you on legislation or any way that we can to get there. Thank you, Chairman Cassidy and Senator Sanders. I'm honored to be before you today to present the Department of Health and Human Services fiscal year 2026 budget. Debilitating disease, contaminated food, toxic environments, addiction, and mental illness affect Americans across every race, class, and political belief. When my team and I took the helm at HHS, we set out with clear goals. First, we aim to make America healthy again with a special focus on the chronic disease epidemic. Second, we committed to delivering more efficient, responsive, and effective service to over 100 million Americans who rely on Medicare, Medicaid, and other programs. Third, we focus on achieving these goals while cutting costs for taxpayers. We intend to do more, a lot more, with less. The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects...
The witness will suspend. The committee will come to order. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be tolerated.
Congress pays for bombs to kill people in Gaza.
Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
Congress kills.
That was a made for C-SPAN moment. The secretary will resume.
The budget.
Just a second, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, let's get the doors closed and the ruckus just totally cleared.
Responsibility. I invite the committee to unite around these ideals with me. The United States remains the sickest developed nation in the world, and we spend $4.5 trillion annually on health care, 2 to 3 times more per capita than comparable nations. Clearly, something is structurally and systemically wrong with this system. Furthermore, healthcare costs are steadily increasing at a rate of 2% greater than the economy. If we don't staunch this unsustainable hemorrhage, we will ransom our children to bankruptcy, servitude, and disastrous health consequences. Yes, an exploding debt is a social determinant of health. We won't solve this problem by throwing more money at it. We must spend smarter. We will shift funding away from bureaucracy and toward direct impact. Some things at HHS will not change. We will preserve legacy programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Head Start as the foundation of the MAHA agenda. Vulnerable populations, seniors, and veterans deserve consistent access to care, and I will ensure that they receive it. Today, 83 million Americans, urban and rural, lack adequate access to primary care physicians. We will prioritize these families, especially Native American and Alaskan communities. We will protect IHS funding, streamline its operations, and give the tribes more autonomy in managing their resources. Let me be clear, we intend to make the Trump HHS not just the most effective, but also the most compassionate in U.S. history. Our official budget statement outlines many priorities, but I want to highlight a few. First, we will consolidate programs to better tackle mental health and addiction. These issues now rival chronic disease in their impact. HHS will aggressively combat the opioid crisis, especially the spread of synthetic drugs like fentanyl. We will empower state, local, and tribal leaders to create effective solutions. Second, we will address nutrition, physical activity, and healthy lifestyles. The president's budget requests $94 billion in discretionary funds to support these priorities, including the Administration for a Healthy America. We will emphasize healthy eating and Head Start and ensure the program continues to serve its 750,000 children and parents effectively. Third, we will equip FDA to expand its food safety efforts through research, regulation, inspection, and education to remove harmful chemicals from food and packaging. Fourth, we will fund cutting-edge research at NIH while cutting risky or non-essential studies. That includes ending gain-of-function experiments and research based upon radical gender ideologies. At the CDC, we will return to core missions, tracking disease, investigating outbreaks, and sustaining public health infrastructure while cutting waste. Fifth, we will eliminate DEI funding and redirect resources toward real poverty reduction. We will move beyond lip service to communities of color and take meaningful action to meet their needs. Six, we will strengthen cybersecurity and health IT. The AI revolution has arrived, and we are already using new technology to manage health data more efficiently and securely. Finally, we will rebuild public trust, a trust that eroded through years of industry capture, corruption, waste, and misplaced priorities. We will launch a new era of transparency in public service, creating an honest, science-driven HHS that answers to the president, to Congress, and to the American people. I look forward to working with Congress to pursue this mission together as a bipartisan cause. Let's work side by side to make America healthy again.
When it comes to a man who really does not care what political party you identify with, there's nobody better than RFK Jr. He was a lifelong Democrat, only turned over to the Republican Party to support Donald Trump. He only cares about making American kids healthy again. This man truly does believe he was called by God to make America healthy again. The very first time I heard about RFK Jr. was on his book about Anthony Fauci, and he was exposing all the corruption that he was engaged in and the gain of function research that was happening that caused the coronavirus in the world to stop in 2020. RFK Jr. brought a microscope under Anthony Fauci, and he really did expose all of these corrupt bureaucrats who are making millions and jeopardizing American safety. And when you think about all the family trouble that RFK Jr. has had, his dad got shot, his uncle got shot. These were some of the most powerful men in the country, and they were taken out by an assassin. So I don't blame RFK Jr. for jumping up out of his seat, because the man was dealt with a very traumatic past. Like, why on earth are people upset at RFK Jr.? He's making healthcare more affordable, and it's better. Who is against having healthier and better quality food, lowering drug prices? In fact, I think it was one of the owners of Ben & Jerry's, and he was getting mad at RFK Jr. He calls him like a tyrant or some BS like that. I will never touch that ice cream again, just on pure principle. I don't care how good the ice cream tastes. If you got a problem with RFK Jr. for wanting to ensure kids are healthier and happier, then you got a problem with me. I don't care if you're the most staunch Democrat in the world. You have to agree. The food that we've been giving for years is only making us less and less healthy. Why is America the most obese country in the world, and it's not even close? Let's go back to the days when John F. Kennedy Jr. was president, and the American high schoolers had to go through the physical fitness test, and the high schoolers I saw back then in the videos, they looked tough as nails. Whereas if you go to a random high school today, half the students look like they could be frickin' bowling balls.
Ranking Member, Ms. DeLauro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me just one area of correction, which has to do with the measles issue, Mr. Secretary. You keep comparing the U.S. to other countries. You compare us to Europe, but the Europe you are referring to is the WHO European region. That's 53 countries in Europe and in Asia, including those with low vaccination rates like Romania, that has never eliminated measles. If you compare us to Western Europe countries that we often compare ourselves to, like Great Britain, they have seen no measles death this year. Let me move to the NIH. In your testimony, you say you want to quote, and I quote, rescale our biomedical research budget, unquote. Excuse me, but that's BS. You are not rescaling NIH research. You are proposing to cut it by $20 billion. And according to our colleagues in the Senate, NIH has effectively cut research funding by $2.7 billion this year in comparison to the same period last year. That's a cut of 35% during that period. That includes cutting cancer research by 31%. This is the report put out by the Senate, Trump's War on Science, which goes into detail about how we are, in fact, dealing with cutting scientific research. Mr. Secretary, are you freezing or withholding funding that Congress appropriated in 2025 for life-saving NIH research?
Let me address your first issue first, because I want to correct you. We have about 1,100 measles cases in this country. The growth rate last year was 15 additional, so we have plateaued. Mexico has roughly the same number with a third of our population, and they got 300 extra cases last week. Canada has more measles, 1,500. They have 1/8 of our population. Western Europe has about 6,000, which is 10 times the number that we have. Well, you are wrong about what you said earlier.
We can discuss that, but I think one has to consider whether or not we're dealing with decades of data proving how effective and safe the measles vaccine is. I want to move to that. I want my questions answered on, are you freezing and withholding funding that Congress appropriated in 2025 for life-saving NIH research?
We are not withholding any funding for life-saving research.
Okay. Do you commit to following the law?
Of course.
Fully obligating funding that Congress appropriated. We appropriated, it is the law of the land for NIH research, and to obligate those funds by September 30th of this year. or are you planning to break the law by impounding congressionally appropriated funds?
If you appropriate me the funds, I'm going to spend them.
We have. In the bill, you are cutting the NIH by $18 billion, or you're proposing to cut it by $20 billion. The Congress appropriated those funds. It passed into law. It's part of the 2024 budget, and we are under a continuing resolution that has adopted the 2024 numbers. How then can you justify cutting $20 billion from the biomedical research budget?
If you appropriate the money to me, I'm going to spend that
We
money.
have appropriated, Mr. Secretary.
Then I'm going to spend it.
Then you're going to spend it. You're not going to cut $20 billion from the NIH.
The White House proposal is to do very, very large cuts at NIH.
Well, that is contrary to
but
the
if-
money
if Congress-
appropriated.
Ranking member,
Yes.
if Congress appropriates me the money, I'm going to spend the money. You have the power of the purse here.
Thank
sure
you.
You know that.
Thank you for reiterating that, but I think that I'm not sure the administration really has internalized that, particularly Mr. Vogt hasn't internalized that when he says that we can in fact, impound money. The money is there. The 2024 budget includes the funding for the NIH. Will you commit to spending the money that is in 2024 in that budget?
As I said, ranking member, if you appropriate the money, I'm going to spend that money.
The money has been appropriated. So the answer to that is if you're not willing to accept the funds that have been lawfully voted by members of the House and Senate on the money for the National Institutes of Health. We're going to hold you to your word that that funding is there. It should be transferred from 24 to 25, and you've cut already $20 billion. Let's get that money back. Let's get that money back. You have an obligation to carry out the law and to implement what the Congress has done. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Chronic disease and tobacco. Tobacco use is a major contributor to chronic disease and is a leading preventable cause of death in our nation. Each year, killing nearly 500,000 Americans, costing the nation nearly $250 billion in healthcare costs. CDC's tips from former smokers' media campaign alone is estimated to have saved more than $7 billion in healthcare costs by helping more than 1 million smokers quit. Why did you eliminate CDC's Office of Smoking and Health, an office that reduces the number of kids using tobacco products, helps order tobacco users to quit, and saves taxpayers dollars?
We have, under the reorganization, and I'm going to talk very, very broadly, because as of 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, we are under a court order not to do any further planning on the reorganization. And I've been advised by my attorneys and not to talk about it. But I will just say broadly, many of the programs that the Democrats are now saying were cut at CDC were not cut at all. Those programs were transferred to the Administration for Healthy America. But I'm not permitted to talk in any more detail because of a court order.
I know we're just dealing with words. You transfer it here, there's less money overall for the agency, therefore there's less money for the programs. In both 2024, 2025, Congress, again, power of the purse resides here, appropriated $246 million for CDC's tobacco prevention programs. Do you commit to following the law again, fully obligating those funds so that we can help adults who want to quit using tobacco and prevent teens from becoming addicted?
Allow me to answer that by pointing out the absolute cataclysmic disorganization of this agency under your oversight for 40 years. We had 9 separate offices of women's health. When we consolidate them, the Democrats say we're eliminating them. We're not. We're still appropriating the $3.7 billion, but we're not keeping all 9. We had 8 separate offices for minority health. We eliminated 1. We had 27 HIV offices.
Okay, let me just, I'm going to
We had
interrupt.
59 behavioral
Chair is
health
right.
programs.
I'm well over time. If you could just get us what has been eliminated, why you're doing it, and the criteria by which the elimination has occurred. That is information that this committee needs in order to be able to do our job in terms of appropriating funds. Thank you
And
for
we
your
will
indulgence.
gladly provide that to you, but right now we're under a court order that prohibits us from doing so.
Do you ever notice this about human psychology? When somebody's lying, they can't help but yell. They can't help but try and talk louder than the other person. I believe Mark Twain said it best. He says, if you want to know who's winning an argument, find out who raises their voice first. It just seems like some people in Congress look like they have escaped from an asylum. I don't know how these people got into their positions of power, but something is really wrong in America if we are being led by Congresswoman like DeLauro. I mean, for goodness sake, the woman looks like she's an angsty 13-year-old, but she's also probably like 87 years old. It's absolutely insane. The way that I see it, if you are a grown adult, you are over the age of 18 years old, and you believe that a man is capable of getting pregnant, then you don't have the right to question anybody on anything. That she is just bought and paid for by her political donors, because how on God's green earth could you be against what RFK Jr. is doing? He's just trying to ensure America is a healthier nation. Why are some people in Congress hell-bent on preventing that from happening in the first place? It's absolutely asinine. And if you want to see a stark difference, look at the HHS secretary under Joe Biden. You see a man dressed up as a woman who is morbidly obese teaching us how to be a healthier human being. Whereas you have RFK Jr., who's probably 65 to 70 years old, and he's tough as nails. He can do more pull-ups than the average 30-year-old male in today's society. Do I want to listen to the grandpa who can lift with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Or do I want to listen to the man who's convinced that he's a woman? Who do I trust for my health advice? The problem that we have is that big pharma and all these drug companies, they don't want to heal people of their illnesses because then it's not as profitable. They want people to just be unhealthy enough that they can keep feeding them pills, feeding them drugs. Their entire life's existence is dictated by how much drugs you can and should take each and every day. As far as I'm concerned, this woman needs to be in a psych ward, not in Congress's floor dictating legislation and the future of this nation. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Do you think that RFK Jr. was a perfect choice for the HHS secretary? And if not, who would you have rather got in that position? Do you think that RFK Jr. wanted to be the HHS secretary out of the goodness of his heart and he wants to make America better? Or is he doing it for his own personal gain? Let me know what you think. And if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe, and I wish you guys nothing but the best. Until next time.